title is, EFAB, Econo-Functional Aesthetic Balance. We'll talk about a little bit about how that balance can be created in a design and how it relates back to sustainable design. The basic idea here was that it's a set of principles for approaching design in general, but in particular for approaching sustainable design. I guess I should start at the beginning.
Yeah, and I just want to caution you, Bill. I will throw flags in the play if you try and use Latin words or any architectural words in which a builder may not be familiar, because that's, okay. You do it to me when I talk, anything related to math or geek stuff. Okay,
no Latin like novo intellectus or anything like that.
How did you get into this? I mean, obviously this thing, you started the philosophy back in 1991. Yeah. A year will long live in infamy for me. It's the year I graduated high school. But
you're a youngster. Yeah. No, I started when I started my firm. I felt that I needed to, in some way, articulate a set of principles on which the design work that I would do would be based. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I did not want to be pigeonholed into a particular style. So I began to explore, what the approach to design would be that wasn't completely obsessed and completely focused on aesthetics. And there really is a lot more to design than just aesthetics, especially when you talk about sustainable design. Aesthetics can be a separate category unto itself if you're a sculptor. You could take a piece of stone and sculpt it into something. And then, it has no function other than to have an aesthetic function. But design, and particularly architectural design, is much more than sculpture and involves much more complex thinking in terms of how the function interacts with the aesthetics.
Yeah, let's go back to the definition. Let's talk about some of these things. So, obviously, clearly, EFAB is an acronym for Econo-Functional Aesthetic Balance. Let's start with the economics. The economics could be local, they could be macro, but at the end of the day, it's what's the bottom line?
You know what? We'll pick that up on the other side of our break. We're coming up on our first break. And after the break, we'll continue with the Econo-Functional Aesthetic Balance. This is Green Better Best on Voice America's Green Talk Network.
This is the Green Talk Network, helping to provide a sustainable future for us all.
Our mission at Emerald Dream Builders is to provide our clients the highest quality, energy-efficient, environmentally sound projects within their budget. This mission focuses on maximizing our clients' return on their investment without compromising craftsmanship, quality materials, or the environment. Let us help you create your shade of green. Contact us at www.emeralddreambuilders.com. That's emeralddreambuilders.com. For decades, we've been made aware of environmental issues such as climate change, overpopulation, and habitat destruction. How can we stay engaged and active in helping to prevent these issues from becoming insurmountable problems for our children and beyond? Tune in to The Earth Guardian. Each week, Sherilyn Viteze will cover the issues and discuss what is being done and how you can make a difference without too much effort to improve the quality of life for everyone on Earth. Tune in Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time on the Green Talk Network. WJM Architect has the education, training, experience, and vision to guide you through the entire building configuration and construction process. From defining what to build to helping you get the most value for your money. By utilizing a whole building approach, we don't just design walls, ceilings, and floors. We envision interdependent spaces inside and outside, beautiful to be in, that satisfy functional needs, budget concerns, and are productive places in which to live and work. For more information, have a look at our website, www.wjmarchitect.com.
Learn Learn how to become a part of the solution, not the problem. Participate in the discussion by calling 1-888-346-9141. That's toll free, 1-888-346-9141. Welcome to the Green Talk Network. Spread the green.
This is Green, Better, Best with your hosts Bill Martin and Rick Goyette. If you have a question or comment about the show, please call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. Or send an email to rick@emeralddreambuilders.com. Now, back to Green, Better, Best.
Okay, welcome back to Green, Better, Best. Okay, Rick Goyette, where do we leave off?
We left off with my question. We were talking about Econo-Functional Aesthetic Balance, the architectural philosophy, and I wanted to just essentially kind of break down some of the tenets. We were talking about economics. And the economics of a building, obviously, if you don't consider it, the amount of resources available for that project is unlimited, or are unlimited. And when you think about it, you can use every resource on the earth to build one structure, and we know that that's not true.
That would not be an efficient way to go. But
yeah, because you'd only have one building on the whole planet.
Right. But before I get to the economics, there are two other factors that balance with the economics that I just want to touch on as we move into the economics discussion. First is, obviously, aesthetics is an important principle in any designed object.
Well, not obviously,
cars,
but have you seen some of the
whatever.
McMansions that have been built over the past 10 years?
Well, aesthetics is a matter of personal taste, so everyone has a different idea of what aesthetics is. But my point in talking about aesthetics is it's not something you should focus only on. Mm-hmm. It should be part of the design balance that's created. But that aesthetics principles are there implied regardless of whether you consider them. I mean, you could build a horribly ugly building, and there are still aesthetic principles in there, although they're negative aesthetic principles, but they're still part of it. So that's a basic, aesthetics is a basic factor in the equation of any design. The next, in terms of architecture and buildings, is function. Louis Sullivan used to talk about form following function. He broke that down into a very nice, concise little phrase. But any object that's designed, is designed to fulfill some kind of a purpose. And the fact that it has purpose implies that it's going to fulfill some function. And in terms of a building, there may be multiple layers of purpose and function. Functions from spatial functions to mechanical system functions to fresh air functions, lighting, right down to photovoltaics. Getting back into sustainability. So you have the functions factor as well as the aesthetics factor that need to balance with each other in order to have a building that's created. So
right.
in my thinking about this early on, some 15, 20 years ago when I first started my firm, I realized that there's more to the equation. Obviously, if you're going to build the building, you're going to need resources to build the building, and that's money, economics, and so forth. But it's more complicated than that. It's not just about money. It's about how you efficiently use materials, how that balances in with the aesthetics and the function. There's almost an aesthetic to the efficient use of materials. And when you talk about sustainable design and green design, you're really talking about an economic equation because you're trying to produce an object or a building with a minimum impact on the earth and a minimum impact, of course, on your own particular pocketbook in terms of resources, and that's really an economic equation. So, if you don't intend to build a building, you could design a wonderful building and only deal with aesthetics and functions. But once you go to build the building, you're into that area of economics where you have to factor in things like the cost of materials, the choices of materials, labor. The cost of labor and how intensive the labor is. Is it the most efficient way to use that labor? So economics to me is fundamental to the construction of any building, any designed object, really. But for the most part, my focus is the architectural design of buildings. So that led me to break down what I felt were the three fundamental factors, which were aesthetics factor, functions factor, and then the economics factor. Now, we hear a lot about sustainability. In fact, the reason you and I are doing the show is, because we wanted to address issues of sustainability.
Right, and it's interesting that the big thing here, Bill, in the piece that needs to be pointed out is economics have not really been a factor in architecture as a whole. I mean, obviously people have a budget when they come to an architect with how much they want to build with, but I don't. In terms of economic architecture as a profession, economics has not really factored into it as well. And I think that one of the no-brainers to me was the thing that hit me in the forehead was now that we're talking about first cost versus lifetime cost and investing money up front to save money over the long term as a factor in sustainable design, it fits into EFAB in that way. And just similarly, you're talking about form. There's going to be some environmentally sound things and some things that are just better for the health of the building and the health of the occupants that are going to fit into the form part of it. But I think that the new thing about this, I mean, to somebody who's never heard of this philosophy before, it's like, okay, they're just talking common sense. They're talking about, the building has to look good, it has to meet the budget, and oh, by the way, it has to fulfill, the need of the occupants. But the reality is people have really kind of pushed architects aside in the residential, particularly the residential design function, as a result of, for economic reasons. So architects, I mean, you could argue, Bill. I mean, I'm not,
I will argue that.
We could argue that the lack of focus on economics in the architectural profession has pushed them out of the arena over the past 10, 20 years with regard to designing homes, which is why could be one of those reasons why we have McMansions littering the inventory of homes in America. That's probably a topic for a whole other show.
Yeah.
But the new thing here, what people need to understand is that this addition of economics into a design philosophy is a little bit new. It's a little bit evolutionary. I wanted to just point that out because as I've done my research, cross-researched and this and that, and I've found that this to be the case, where this is kind of one of the only ones. It's like you're coming out here, Bill. Economics has to be part of it,
Well, builders and developers have always focused on cost of construction. They're always looking for ways to create more space with less materials.
Because for the most part, that's what clients want, and that's what clients want because they've neglected the discussions with a design professional that says, we quoted on the promo video for this, designing space for the sake of space this is a quote from Bill Martin. Designing space for the sake of space is not good design, and it's certainly not green design. That's an actual direct quote from Bill Martin. And the reason that builders do that, developers do that, is because that's for the longest time what the market wanted. They wanted more space for less money, when really what they really needed was a conversation with somebody that said, well, if you gave up 400 square feet in this formal dining room that you're not going to be able to pay for furniture for anyway, you could have a smaller house. It costs less to heat. And oh, by the way, the money that you save could be used to abate the cost of the energy to heat and cool the home or upgrade the windows, or even something aesthetic like a nice cupola that the builder usually tries to not put on the house. Things of that nature. They could be using this money in a different way because they don't have these discussions, and because economics, architects have really refused to have an economic conversation in the past. And I'm putting the emphasis on architects here. It's maybe not their fault.
I found that's starting to change now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because of the show, Bill. Mostly because of us.
But you take all the credit for changing the entire paradigm. But I guess my point in what you just said regarding how economic decisions are made as it relates to construction To me, that's a design decision.